it's kind of like the way I'm seeing it is that our human brain is like a computer. So it's just one of the vehicles that the real self is using here in this experience in the psych realms, but it isn't really aware of the real self until it gets a real education and some real guidance. So then we get into these words of universal guides. And these beings are here trying to help us become more aware. They're not forcing anyone to be more aware. But if the opportunity is being offered, then it's for each person to find out for themselves by testing to see what the truth is to themselves and finding out about all these things that are taking place that we're unaware of in life. Because it's pretty much only offered at certain times in this experiences that we have in the psych realms. So it's time to get out of these psych realms. This is the time for those that are ready to earn our way out of these psych realms. And the beginning of earning our way out of the psych realms is to test the new you song sessions and see what life shows you. Val, is there something you'd like to mention or talk about today?
Well, along the lines of words, we've had words that have a certain vibration that can help uplift people in the past. And basically, words are just they're symbols, or they're a sound that relate to an idea, a feeling, an attitude, whatever. But they're sounds, and they're in the form of a word, or certain sounds in the word that make up the word. So in the past, we've had words like abracadabra and hue and other words. The East Indians have a lot of chanting and sound words that uplift or correspond to certain levels of existence. But what's happened these days is these words have been infected, and they no longer have the value or the power that they did in the past. So this is usually purposely done. Sometimes, just by unawareness, but a lot of times purposely done for marketing purposes and control purposes. So now the new sound, the sound that is the uplifting sound or the connection to this, to reality, is the new you, and that's what will get a person past their personal self into these little universes. So it is kind of interesting, because also with the word idea, that Dwayne, a great writer, who's the founder of the New Presentation, he's if you've read any of his books, his words look a little odd, to say the least, and some people are put off by the way he spells certain words, like universal. He spells it U-N-U, Versal, universal. Of course, that corresponds to the NU, new. And he does this with other things too. And this is done for a reason, because as he comes in and his awareness comes in here for guidance, he's pointing, or he's relating everything he writes, and his words relate to this reality that we're pointing people to. Whereas the old words don't relate or don't point to anything but the lower levels of life and the old gods, old ideas, etc. So even the word love, which it's been really it's been infected, or it's just gone out of, into the emotional arena. Maybe in the beginning, people's intent was more, of a purity or sincerity, but now it's just like used all over in commercials and in the media, and it's lowered the vibration or the idea. When a person says love, it doesn't mean as much. It just doesn't have the oomph that maybe it did in the beginning. And then one more thing I just noticed here, listening to something on Facebook. This woman, she's talking about how marketing works, how she's marketed, she's a marketing agent, and how words play a part in that. There was this cracker that was very, popular in England and Canada, and sales were kind of down, and so they thought, well, we should do something here, which they always do. They want to update their marketing practices, so they added diamond to the word, to the cracker, and they also, this is also part of it. They had a picture of the cracker on the package, and it was like a square, and they turned it a little bit diagonally so it looked like a diamond more. So sales went up. It was the same cracker, but it was the marketing, the words. Diamond. I mean, people like, oh, diamond. It must be valuable. It must be, worth something. It must be delicious. So, yeah, these and people who know social psychology, they really play on words, and they use them consciously to herd people and to market them and to control them. So words are very interesting. I think it's called entomology or something like that, the study of words and how they came to be, and how the reptilians really had a big part in this too, in establishing, like another thing I saw on Facebook, pharmacy, harm, is harm in there. Pharmaceutical drugs harm people, and other interesting things within the word. Anything right now that's interesting.
Maybe, Val, you could tell about the word taplining a little bit, because you mentioned these reptilians.
Well, taplining is not, if you looked it up in the dictionary before pre-Dwayne, it really didn't have anything much going on with it, but now it's sort of a new word that relates to these attachments that people have had for ages, basically, but now there's a term for it. Just like when the doctors, they basically create some of these diseases by the drugs that they give people and other things going on in the environment. And then they create names for these diseases that they've actually created. Well, we could say there's been a disease or this attachment that people have to the worlds of creation all along, and it hasn't been really defined, this situation. And Dwayne has come along and used the word taplines to define it, actually, and really describe what's going on with the person. And there's actually, on the astral level, there's actually like tap lines of energy, you could say, more like negative energy that the reptilians use to hold people down to certain attitudes, addictions, etc., all to keep them in the worlds of creation, to keep them one-dimensional, to keep them unaware and stupid. And it's just like a rope, you could say, holding somebody down, or an anchor holding the ship to the pier. It's like you can't go anywhere until you loosen these things up. And if you heard one of the new friends from Queensland, she just posted something on Facebook about how she woke up or she heard, during her dream, she heard a big, I think it was a bang or clang or something, and then she actually felt like a 3-inch hole in her back, where the guides had removed the tap lines from her. And Dwayne mentioned that normally the guides they provide this service. Once you're willing, once you're open and want to become more aware, they will remove these things, these attachments from you. But things are such these days that things are moving so fast that sometimes the real guides will go in there and remove them quicker than they normally would have because of the days and times we live in. I mean, things are moving so quickly, and we want to get things done here. So this person had their tap lines removed a lot of them very quickly. So left she felt a 3-inch hole in the back, I mean, it'll get healed up, but this is like on the astral level. So it's real. Have you seen Matrix and Neo, in that scene where those hoses were removed? That's kind of like that. It's a good imagery to have about how these things work and how they're attached to the back of a person. And during the dream state, especially, the reptilians have access to your inner body and bodies, and they can do this kind of devious kind of thing to work on you. But the new you will help protect you from this. You still there, Tim?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Val, for that information about taplining that most of the people of Earth are unaware of. It did mention the word dream. And this is another important word, it seems, about trying to have a connection with our real self. In these experiences, sometimes we get to travel to the other realms and see what they're like and the beings that are there. And this gets into this stuff about like what mankind calls God, or the gods of man, of all these different religions that mankind has and thinks is truth, when it looks like, with light being showing that actually what mankind sees as their god is actually a reptilian, or maybe a couple of reptilians, one brother and another brother, that have convinced mankind, or let mankind think that they're God, and that they like this stuff, like people praying to them and worshiping them, and thinking that they're better than everybody else that exists. It's really interesting that we have this experience that we're going through right now on Earth with, it looks like very soon mankind's going to be aware of these aliens. It looks like it's this year, but we'll see. And that ought to have a big effect on how people think about life, like they've never thought about before, too. The experience of finding out new things that we don't know until we find out, become aware of. We're just like unconscious to so much. It seems like it's endless, this experience that we're going through or in.